more I become invisible, the more I can become part of the scene, the more the photographic opportunities present themselves to me. The camera, it becomes a productive tool. It's there for a purpose.
デザインを検討するときにスケッチを書いて最初検討して、その次にですね 3D データを入れてからこのようなラフな削りのモデルを作ります。でこれをベースにボタンの位置が適切であるかとか、あるいはグリップ性能はこれでいいかとかっていうのを検討していくんですけれども、我々が一番に考えていることはやはり使われる方、ユーザーのことです。
マイタリが残した言葉の一つに、我々はカメラを開発提供しているんではなくて、カメラを通じて人々が幸せになることを提供しているんだっていう言葉があります。ないから作る、その精神というのを日々実現しようと、これこそが社会に対するオリンパスの役割だと思っています。
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to day one of the Cambridge Photography Weekender with Campkins cameras. My name is David Smith, and I am the lead product specialist and content creator for Olympus UK. So first of all, thank you to Campkins and the Cambridge Photography Weekender for asking me to come in and do this session with you on day one. There are 3 days to it today and tomorrow, which I will be back again for with an overview and a Q&A session for the EM1X, and Sunday, which I sadly won't be here for. But today, I am here to talk about spring and the Olympus macro system. We're going to be using an EM1 Mark II today with the Olympus 60mm macro to take some photos of a flower, going over some of the really cool features that the Olympus system has, show you how easy it is to use in terms of macro photography. And we're going to use it with a little bit of flash as well. So we're going to do some demonstrations, first without flash, and then secondly with flash. Now, hopefully the live stream is coming through. Oh, excuse me. Hopefully the live stream is coming through nice and clear. Let me know in the comments if you're watching. It'd be nice to know who's there. Give me a wave so I can give you a shout out. Let me know where you're from. And also, if you've got any questions about macro or the Olympus equipment in general, then pop those in the comments as well. I'm here for about half an hour. So the session is roughly about half an hour. It can go on a little bit longer if you do have lots of questions, but it should give me enough time to show you some of the features and techniques in these cameras for macro. Straight away as seen in there, I've got Darren in the comments. Hello, Darren. Good to see you again. A localer also to Cambridge, as I am myself. And hopefully we'll see some more people pop up in the comments and say hello. So yes, thank you, Campkins, for inviting me in. Let's look at some macro features in here today. I think we've probably got one of the gang from Campkins. I'm not sure whether it's Owen or one of the other gang down at Campkins in the comments helping out. They will be able to put links in to any of the equipment that I'll be talking about. So keep an eye out for those. If you need anything specifically from Campkins, obviously give them a call. From Monday, they're open again, so you can go in and actually physically be in store and have a little play with the kit as well. So we're all looking forward to that. Right. Hello, Chris. Hello, Chris. Hi, Tony in Newmarket, and hi to Brian from Brentwood in Essex. Good to see you in the comments just there. Hi to Richard as well. Good to see you, Richard. And Dewar, I think that's, am I saying that right? Is it Dewar or Devar? Devar, I think, from Cambridge. Good to see you as well. Right, let's go ahead, have a look at some images. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change over the scene here. You should now see, well, actually, we can see this one. So you can see me up in the top corner as well. This is basically, I'm filming the back of another camera today because I want to show you some macro techniques called focus stacking. Now, in order to do that, normally when I show the features of the camera, I just connect a cable up and I'll put it in here to my laptop, and then you'll see exactly what the camera sees in a really nice, clean feed. But the focus stacking doesn't quite work that way with the cable. So I'm filming the back of another camera today to show you that aspect of things. But I'll try and show it as cleanly as possible. And if I need to, I can switch the cables over so you can see the final image in all its glory as well. Keep the questions and things coming in the chat whilst I'm talking. I will come back to them and answer them if you've got any in there. So let me just take me away so I can stand up And I'm just going to move my audio over a little bit. So what I've got today is, oh, let me just wake that camera back up again. What I've got today is a nice orange chrysanthemum, and you can see now that lots and lots of flowers are coming out because it is spring. We've got some beautiful blue anemones in our garden that I took some photos of a couple of weeks ago. You can sort of do this technique with any flowers or insects as you like. I'm going to be using an EM1 Mark II today, and I could be using an EM1 Mark II, an EM1 Mark III, or an EM1X, or indeed an EM5 series model to do the focus stacking in camera, which is where the camera is going to stack several images at different focal points to give me a greater depth of field. Now, I've popped my camera and my 60mm macro lens into manual focus at the moment, so I'm just going to grab some focus in here so we can see what's going on. Now, of course, macro gives us, by the very nature of it, a very shallow depth of field, and that can create a really nice look. So let me just improve the light situation here. I've just got an LED light that I'm going to use to take a single shot just there, and then we'll switch that off, bring that right down, and I will now add my flash in and take a shot as well. So we're going to get two slightly different images. This is an over brightened image. Let me bring this down for you. It's not that bright in real life. So we've got two different styles of image. This is an LED lit image and this is a flash lit image. So they're quite different in the way that they look. Let me in fact change over the cable so my screen will go dark for just a second, but you should still be able to hear me. And we can plug into the actual camera and see those actual images just there. So that's our flash image and that's our LED image. So there is some slight differences there. So first of all, that's what leads me on to wanting to use flash, because I actually prefer the lighting for this image. And of course, I've just given it a little spritz with some water ahead, excuse me, ahead of shooting that as well, just to put some water droplets on it and give it something extra to look at. But we're still seeing quite a shallow depth of field because I'm actually shooting that at f2.8, which is wide as this 60mm macro goes. Now, normally we would want to shoot that wide because we're searching for the light. We want to get lots and lots of light into the image, which does then break it down into a narrower depth of field. And if you're working with macro and you're working super close, so let's bring this a little bit closer and then bring it into focus, you'll see now that the depth of field is even shallower. So let's take another shot there. Perfect stuff. So now we're working with an even shallower depth of field because we're closer. And in macro photography, that's what happens. The closer you get, the shallower that depth of field becomes. But we might want to see a lot more. And the OMD series has a focus stacking in camera feature that is going to enable us to do that. But in order to do that, I am going to need to switch over my camera cables once more to film the back of this camera for you here today. Okay. So I'm now filming the back of my active camera. What I first of all would say, if you're going to use the 60mm macro anywhere near the 1:1 ratio that it can do, so it can do 1:1 focusing ratio, then do pop it into manual focus. It's the easiest way to do it. And in a studio, it's very easy to use manual focus as well. But of course, the super fast phase detect on the EM1 series cameras can focus super quick when you're out in the field. Now, the flash that I've got on there today is an FL900R flash with a simple piece of diffusion material, which I will show you at the end. Do feel free to pop any questions in about diffusing flash into the comments, and I'll do my very best to answer them. And that's producing this lovely, nice, soft light just there that's giving us a nice, even flow of light across there and not giving us too many super bright highlights. And again, we'll come back to these images live from the camera so that you can see them in all their glory once we move along. So there are a couple of things in the cameras that can help us with our macro photography. Those things are things like focusing assistance. So in the camera, we've got a few focusing assistants. One is called focus peaking, and the other one is called magnify assist. And both those things can help us when it comes to focusing at such a close-up magnified macro level. We can find them if we pop into the menu. So if I press menu on the camera and then go down into the custom menu, which is represented with that little cog icon there, and then along into A4. Now anything in A is relative to auto or manual focus. So in there we have got, let's just bring this down a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. We've got our MF Assist. Now in there is where we will find our manual focus assistant tool, the tools that will kick in only when we're turning the manual focus ring on the lens. Now if you've got an EM1 Mark III or an EM1X, you'll have a third option in there which is called Focus Indicator, which tells you whether or not you're focusing towards infinity or towards a macro. This is an EM1 Mark II which doesn't have that feature, but what we're going to do is we're going to switch on Magnify initially. We'll just have a little look at the Magnify option. I'm going to just do a little half press on my shutter to take me back to my live view. And now when I start to manually focus, let's raise this up a little bit. As I start to manually focus, you'll see there that the magnification level has changed and it's automatically gone to 10 times. Now what I can do is I can, whilst turning that focus ring, turn my rear dial if 10 times is a bit too much, and I can bring it back to about 3 times and I can get this finer focus. And this is really helpful to find exactly where I want to be on that level. Now the other option that I had in there was focus peaking, and I tend to not use them both at the same time. So I'm going to switch manual focus off. Sorry about the fluctuating light there. I'm going to switch magnify off and I'm going to switch peaking on. Okay. So when I start to now turn the focus ring on this, I will see a little glimmer of peaking color across my subject. Now it's not very helpful to me at the moment because of two things. One, I believe it's set to red, which is not going to help me on this very orange scene. And two, it's probably set to a very low level of intensity. So whilst turning the ring, I can press the info button to bring up my peaking options, and I can change that to a different color. Let's have it in white and let's have it in a high intensity. And we're not going to worry about automatically adjusting the brightness of the image when we're using it. So now we should see this nice little white flash. There we go. White flash of peaking across exactly what is in focus. So if I bring that to the very central part of this chrysanthemum here, and then take my shot and have a little look at this. Let's cross over. Let's go from one cable to the other. Let's see this live and see it in all its glory. And there we go. We've got our focus exactly where we wanted it. But we've still got this pretty phenomenally shallow depth of field. Okay, so that's really, really shallow, and it does create a very nice image, but I might want to get more of that subject in. So just bear with me. I'm just going through the comments now just to pick up, see if anybody's asked any other questions. The gang over at Campkins have popped in a link for the 60mm macro just in the comments there for you. Mayland, hello Mayland, twice in one night. Yeah, Mayland's in Australia, so it is night time for Mayland. Hello Mayland, how you doing? Yes, it is twice. I have been live on Facebook already once today. And Campkins have also put in the link for the EM1 Mark III, which is the current EM1 series model outside of the X. Lots of different links in there, plus a link to the FL600 R flash as well. I'm actually using the 900 today, but you can use a 600. You can use any flash really, but the Olympus series will translate and communicate with the focus stacking feature nice and easy. Okay, talking of focus stacking feature, let's look at getting some more depth of field. Let's bring my filming camera back in and let's see what's going on. So I want to achieve some more depth of field now. What some of you eagle-eyed viewers might have seen is that my shutter speed is sitting there at about a 50th of a second. Now the reason for that is because when I'm going to do the focus stacking, a 50th of a second is the fastest shutter speed I can use, because focus stacking is an electronic shutter feature, and 50th is the max sync for that. I can go slower, but I can't go any faster. So let's go ahead and have a little look in the menu. And let's go to shooting menu number 2. In shooting menu number 2, the first option in there is the bracketing option. And in there, I've got a sub-menu for all my different bracketing styles, including ISO, flash, auto exposure, and focus bracketing is right down at the bottom. So you see it's already switched on because I've done some tests earlier today to make sure that we were running nicely. And in there, I have my focus, bracketing, and stacking options. Now I'm just going to do stacking today because it's only a short session. So I've switched focus stacking on. If I was to switch focus stacking off, the camera is now in bracketing mode, and it can take up to 999 shots bracketed from a single point towards infinity at different focal points so that you can stack them in your preferred software. But if I have it switched on, the camera's going to do it all for me. And on an EM1 series camera, I can choose between 3 and 15 shots to do that. So we'll take all 15 shots for that. I've got a focus differential. This is the gap or the jumps or the steps between each point that the camera will focus on moving towards infinity. And I can either have that narrow steps, little tiny jumps, or big wide jumps to go further through the subject. But my usual one in focus stacking in camera is around 5. And then there's a charge time option, which I don't actually need to set because I'm using an Olympus flash. So that's what I mean about them talking to each other quite naturally. The body will wait for the flash to recycle before it takes the next shot. But if you're using a third-party flash, then you would have to set a charge time in there to tell the camera to wait a certain amount of time before taking the next shot to allow the flash to recycle the charge. So let's come through there. Let's make sure that we're selected on there and we're selecting on there as well. Let's go back to our live view. Now, the focusing rule for focus stacking is that you need to pick a point in which to focus initially. The camera's going to work from that point, and it's going to work. It's going to bring a few more towards you. Let me raise my initial light there so you can see what's going on. It's going to take a few more towards you, and then it's going to jump back to the initial point and take the rest further away automatically. So what I usually do is I focus about 40% into the image, okay? So let's find 40% into my image, which will be about there. Let's reduce this lighting. Now, very importantly, if you're going to do focus stacking in camera, you need to tell the camera to allow the flash. That is done in shooting menu number 2 in the anti-shock and silent mode settings. And the silent mode settings at the bottom of this page. You'll see that it is grayed out because I'm already in focus stacking, but you need to make sure that that screen says flash mode allow, and you can only access that when bracketing is switched off. So make sure you've done that first. That will let the flash fire. Now, we've already tested the flash. We're getting a reasonable output on the exposure, so we're getting a reasonable image in one shot, so we should get good images across the next 15 shots. I've found my 40% into the image. Now I'm going to use my remote shutter to release that and watch all 15 of these shots happen. So here we go. There we go. It's very, very quick. It's gone all the way through, and then we get this busy sign just here. The busy sign just tells me that it's processing those images together into one final stack. So if I was shooting in RAW, I've now got 15 RAWs, 15 JPEGs, and a final 16th JPEG of the stack all together. Let's have a look. Let's remove the cable from this camera into the other. Let's have a quick look at how that looks. And there we go. So that's our stacked image, which is giving us much more detail through there in the flower that we wanted. Now, if we wanted more depth of field, there's a couple of things that we can do. We can either move the flower further away, which instantly creates more depth of field because we're not compressing it so much. So we can start here. Let's switch cables again. We'll go through your options. There we go. So again, I'm going to find about 40% into the image, take my shots. We'll see it all happening again. Lovely. And then obviously busy's processing, a couple of seconds for that. Once that's all processed, oh, by the way, whilst it's processing, you can move your camera. You don't have to keep it very, very still. So let's have a quick look at our final output for that one. And there we go. Again, much more detail, but we've moved the flower away so we can naturally get a little bit more depth of field. So this is our options. What I will do whilst we're in this, let me just remove all of the unnecessary shots. So I'm just going to multiple delete all of these, which I do by pressing and holding the record button and skipping back all the way through all these options here. Let's have a look. I want that one in. I want that one in as well. So this should be now deleting those options. There we go. Press delete. Get rid of those. Let's see. We should be left with the two original ones in here now. There we go. So this was the closer one, and this was the one that's further away, giving us much, much more detail. Now, your other option, if you're still not getting the depth of field that you want, is, well, you've probably come to the limitations of in-camera focus stacking unless you start to use a narrower aperture, which we can do. We can stop this down. We can go to f5.6. As you can see, that's now going to take some light out of the situation, so we need to check that our flash is going to be a good exposure. And of course, because we've now stopped down, our flash isn't bright enough. So you always need to make sure that you're setting the power on your flash correctly before you start, there we go, before you start your bracketing, because you can't use TTL in stacking or bracketing. That's a very important point to make. So make sure your flash is happy. Then let's go ahead, let's cross these cables back over and film the back again. Let's go ahead and find that central point, 40% in, about there. And let's take those images now. There we go. So now I can see there, because I caught a glimpse of that very final image, that we absolutely have passed through that entire flower. So we're going to get lots and lots of depth of field. Remember, this is just an example with this chrysanthemum. You can use this on bugs, insects, flowers, anything like that. Product photography, if you wanted to stack product photography. Landscape photography, if you wanted to do that as well. And there we go. We've got a much more in focus stack on this one. We've got super detail all the way through that image, front to back, which is really, really superb. And that flash has maintained the exposure all the way through as well. Loads and loads of fun to be had. Now, it is a little bit difficult to handhold flash and focus stack. It varies from person to person, depending on your own personal kind of mobility and you know, stillness and things like that. But it's not completely impossible to do a handheld flash focus stack, and you don't always have to do 15 shots. If you're using the Olympus STF8, which Campkins have put a link up to in the comments there, there is a slower recycle on that one, so it's a little bit more difficult to do handheld focus stacking flash with that. But the FL900 and the FL600R do have a much quicker recycle time, so it is a little bit easier. I'm just going to come back into the comments. I've got about another 8 or 9 minutes left with you today. Oh, Mayland has just put up a very good question. Can you use high res mode, so the high resolution sensor shift mode, with focus stacking? And sadly, the answer is no, not at this particular moment in time. It's something that I would really love to see moving forward, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Darren. Oh, Darren's talking about parking and magnify. No, of course, I got the message underneath. Peaking, not parking. Why do I not use both peaking and magnify? I find it a bit of a sensory overload, even only at 3 times. I prefer just one or the other, and I usually end up sort of siding more with just peaking only. I just find magnify a bit difficult, particularly when I'm hand holding. On a tripod, it's not too bad because everything's fairly stable. But if I'm hand holding it, it's all a bit crazy, and my brain doesn't really like it. It doesn't handle it too well. Hello to Roger. Just found the link. Brilliant stuff. Welcome, Roger. Madingley Cricket Club. Hello, welcome. Loving the 60mm. It's great value if you look at other alternatives. It really, really is. You're looking at about £400 for the 60mm macro. It's an f2.8. It's weather sealed. It has a focus limiter switch on the side that enables you to shoot as far down as 1:1 ratio. It's absolutely fantastic. Madingley Cricket Club has asked that the Olympus roadmap does suggest that there's a Pro Macro at some point in future. Yes, we are in development for a Pro Macro. That is quite openly announced on our roadmap. So it's not really a giveaway thing today, but there will be a Pro Macro coming in the future, which I personally can't wait for because I love macro photography. So that's going to be really, really fantastic when that comes. Penny, yes, this can be picked up later. Do what you need to do. Just go back to the Cambridge Photography Weekender page, do a little like and a follow, and you'll be able to get back there. Same with Campkins cameras. The video will be back up. They can watch it as many times as you like, whenever you like. Darren said that I can't mention the lens. I can talk about the fact that there is a Pro Macro coming because it is on our roadmap. I can't talk about what focal length it will be, though. Secret squirrels. Maybe you'll hear it here first on Campkins. Maybe it'll be somewhere else. So Roger, you missed the start. I'm using an FL900. That's a very good thing actually. FL900R. You can use an FL600R. You can use an FL700WR, or you could use an STF8, but you have to bear in mind the slightly slower recycle time on it. And I'm actually just using some homemade diffusion to really soften that out. So let's see if I can just go back to this. There we go. So that image there is with the FL900 and some soft foam diffusion. You can get all sorts of different types of diffusers, and I have all of them, honestly. But sometimes it just requires a little bit of a MacGyver, and effectively it's this stuff here. It's like a 2mm foam sheet that kind of folds around, and you can fold it over and the light gets diffused. It's not quite as simple as this, but it's this kind of stuff that is diffusing that light really, really close up on when you're using a full speed light, because it's not a macro flash, the FL900. The speed lights are pretty big, they're pretty monstrous, and that light needs to be softened out to give you this really nice kind of even lighting. And there's lovely gradients between colors as well. They're super, super important. So yeah, so that's kind of our kind of spring macro thing at the moment. We are actively now encouraging people to go out and get your exercise, shoot macro. If you need macro equipment, Campkins, give them a call, see what you can get, and then get out there safely, of course, and start taking lots of pictures. There is tons and tons of flowers and fauna, and the bugs are coming out as well. So if you're into bugs, if you're into insects and things, they're all coming out. Get down the woods, you'll find lots and lots and lots of them. Tony Hodge says the FL600R is great for macro with the 30mm. It is indeed. You use it off camera. Brilliant stuff. Maybe on a bracket or handheld. And then either the built-in or the FL LM3 on an EM5 do a little triggering. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so the bigger speed lights can be triggered optically as well, so you don't need any fancy trigger systems. Mayland, you use the Magmod system. Yeah, Magmod are great. Magmod are a company that create diffusion and very easily fittable system. I have some things by Lasterlight that go on the front. I have some homemade diffusers. I have the STF8, which has its bracket diffusers on there as well. Sometimes add a bit more, sometimes don't. Depends on how reflective the subject is that you're going to be using. But diffusion is key. If anybody says to me, what are your two main tips for macro photography? One is manual focus, and two is use diffusion. And that should help you achieve some really, really beautiful images. Now, there's loads of stuff going on across the weekend for the Cambridge Photography Weekender. So show your support, like and follow Campkins, like and follow Cambridge Photography Weekender, like and follow Olympus UK if you don't already. And I will be back tomorrow to talk about the EM1X and take any questions on that one as well. So put that in your diary. I'll be back to do that. And I think if I remember rightly, and I'm sure somebody from Campkins will remind me, I think it is 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon for a Q&A and an overview of the EM1X. Roger's question has just popped up saying, what setting would you use in flash delay with the STF8? Wouldn't use any flash delay. I'm not sure if I'm reading that right, Roger. You don't need a flash delay with the STF8. The STF8 will talk to the camera and you don't need to worry about a flash charge time. Any Olympus flash, you don't need to worry about a flash charge time in the stacking and bracketing options. Maitland's got a TF22. Wow, excellent stuff. Keep using it. Definitely. Yeah, it should be absolutely fine. It's just a simple trigger. The voltage is the same, I think. So if any of you got any more questions, then please come back and join me at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Cambridge Photography Week have just put the link in there to the session EM1X Q&A and overview with me at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Hopefully I won't be all lived out. There is a lot going on from other people for Cambridge Photography Weekender as well. So have a little look at the running schedule. Don't forget to like and follow Campkins Cameras, Cambridge Photography Weekender, Olympus UK, all things Olympus. And enjoy your weekend where hopefully wherever you are, there will be some beautiful weather where you can go out and take some macro shots. And everybody's loving my lockdown hair. This is, I'm not sure. I have an appointment next week. Maybe I'll change it. Maybe I won't. So enjoy. I am now going to part company with you, and hopefully I will see a lot of you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Take care and enjoy your weekend. Bye for now.
Hi, how can I help?
That's +3 on the body, not on the flash at all.
EPL8, and it is basically what...
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi.
How are you doing?
See the tiger over my shoulder?
Yeah.
I can't move out of the way. There you
I
go.
can see him.
That was taken last March.
You've got a huge amount of technical knowledge.
Right, so how can I help? And then obviously make sure that there's still some background there, that bill's not filling it all completely.
And I think we've got every camera body.
You've done all that hard work. You want to be able to keep utilising it and future people to utilise it as well.
B for button.
Oh, yeah. B for button, yes.
My camera here as well, so I can follow and make some notes.
One's down to 15 meters with our case.
Okay.
A little video set. I can put basically what you can see here is the camera setting.
Here at Olympus UK, we're doing everything we can to keep you inspired
And improve your skills. We're sharing all of our expertise,
advice, tips and tricks to help you get the most
out of your Olympus camera.
And use this time creatively.
We all are looking forward
to getting back out there with our cameras.
But in the meantime, thank you for joining us online. Stay safe and stay home with us.